All right, day 2 of proofs. Sometimes you have to set up your own table. So how do we set up the table other than just writing the T-chart? What's on the left side? Statements. Yep. And then what's on the right side? Reasons. Yep. What do we always start proofs with? The given statements. Okay. How many given statements did I give you on this one? 2. Up on the board, I gave you that HD is congruent to FE, reasoning, given to us. And then I told you angle HDE is congruent to angle FED, reason, given. If you drew this, you should have marked all of those statements, that given statement there. What can we assume after that? What do we look for? Shared side or shared angle. What is shared with these two overlapping triangles? DE. Can I just put DE here?
No, you have to equal sign it because no reason.
DE is congruent to DE because we have to know what you're talking about with the side. What's the reasoning there? Shared side. Now that I have that information, can I answer the proof statement? Yes. So the proof statement was triangle HDE is congruent to triangle FED because why? It is side, angle, side. So whenever you're trying to prove two triangles to be congruent, you have to use one of the 5 triangle congruence theorems. Okay? Any questions about bell ringer there? Okay. What we're going to do today is we're going to do 2 proof examples on your packet that I handed out to you yesterday. So go ahead and find examples 4 and 5, please. Okay, looking at these examples right now, how do they look different than what we worked with yesterday?
They look like kites.
Specifically, how are the diagrams different?
There's 4 triangles.
There's multiple triangles this time, okay? And the ones we've done before, there was only 2 that we've had to deal with, okay? So what we're going to look at with these 2 is they are a little more lengthier proofs, okay? But I do want to go through them just to show you how things work and how we can assume some things and how things work together. Okay, so looking at number 4, still start the same way. What do I always start with? Givens. Yep, go ahead, follow along here. So given statement number 1 is that AB is congruent to BC. What's the reasoning? Given. What should I do with that? Mark it. Yep. And then number 2, we have another given statement. ABE is congruent to angle CBE. Again, because of given. And then mark that in your picture. If you're struggling to see what angle it's talking about, okay, you can go ahead and draw that out. It's talking about this angle here. So ABE is congruent to CBE. Okay, it's always important to know what you're trying to prove. Okay, what we're trying to prove is triangle ADE is congruent to triangle CED. What I want you to do is shade those in, just so we know what triangles we're looking at. So we're trying to prove this triangle is congruent to this triangle. Okay, right now looking at those 2 triangles that I shaded in, do we know absolutely anything about them? No, there's no congruence markings with those. So what I want you to make note of right here, to go ahead and draw yourself an arrow right here. Okay, I want us to look at the big picture. What I mean by that is I want you to find 2 triangles that make up that whole diagram. Are there 2 triangles that cover the whole diagram? Yeah. Tell me what they are. Vertical. Yeah, they're these ones, right? So this triangle and this triangle here. We want to compare those first, and I'll explain why when we get there. Okay, so looking at those 2 triangles that I have highlighted there, what do they share?
BE.
Yeah, it's that whole middle side, right? So my next statement, okay, for my statement 3, I can go BE is congruent to BE. What's the reasoning? Shared side. And then again, go ahead and mark that. Again, we're still looking at that big picture there. Can I say these 2 triangles are congruent to each other? Yes. Why? Exactly. Yep. So we can say triangle ABE is congruent to triangle CBE because, like you guys said, is side angle side. Now, were those the two triangles we wanted to prove in the first place? No. So what I want you to do is go ahead and make a dotted line here. Okay? We are done looking at the big picture. Okay? So what we just proved is that this triangle here is congruent to this triangle here. How does that help us to get information about these two triangles here? What is something I can assume because of this?
The sides are equal.
What'd you say?
Like the outsides are equal. Like
Yeah, which ones?
outsides. A and E and C and E.
Exactly. Yep. So since we said those two big triangles are congruent, okay, we can assume that this side is congruent to this side here. So we can say that AE is congruent to CE. What would the reasoning be for that? Yes. Yep. Corresponding parts. Awesome. Okay, and again, go ahead and mark that there. Is there anything else about those two big triangles that we can assume to help us?
We assume angle E.
Yes. Yep. I was just going to show that here. Okay. We can assume that these two angles right here are also congruent to each other. So I'm okay if you put angle E as congruent to angle E. I'll know what you're talking about. Just to stay consistent with this problem, I'm going to write it with 3 letters. So we can say angle AEB is congruent to angle CEB. What would the reasoning be for that? Yep, corresponding parts again. Okay, we need one more piece of information. What else can we assume about these two triangles here?
The shared side.
That shared side again, yep. Some of you might argue that we already labeled that shared side, but we necessarily haven't labeled just this side DE here. Okay, so what we want to say for our 7th statement is that DE is congruent to DE because it's a shared side. Do we have enough information to say our proof statement? Yes, we do, yep. So we can say triangle ADE is congruent to triangle CDE. What would our reasoning be?
Side angle.
It is side angle side again. Good. So again, we kind of just did 2 proofs in one. Biggest thing, I hope you wrote this down. Go ahead and star it. We have to look at the big picture before we can figure out what we want to try and prove. Okay, and what's going to help us with that big picture is once you prove that the two triangles in the big picture are congruent, you can then use corresponding parts to help you out there. Okay. Number 5, again, for proofs, what do we always start with? Given statements. Yep. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because given. Yep. Remember, go ahead and mark those. And then angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. Again, because given. Okay, what do we want to do once we have our given statements? Right, and specifically since we have more than 2 triangles we're dealing with here, what do we want to look at? Big picture, okay? Again, what might help is shade in the 2 triangles you are trying to prove. Okay, so triangle KHM is congruent to GHM. Okay, where are the big pictures? What are the big triangles? Yes. These 2 right here. So what do those 2 triangles have in common? That middle line, yep. So our 3rd statement is going to be FM is congruent to FM because shared side. Good. Okay. Do I have enough information to say the big picture triangles are congruent to each other? Can I say these triangles are congruent to each other?
Yes.
I can. Yep. So let's think about this. Triangle FGM is congruent to triangle FKM. What's our reasoning?
Angle side angle.
Yes. Yep. Angle, side, angle. So we just proved the big picture. If it helps, draw yourself a little line here. Okay. What do we want to look at? What was the whole point of proving the big picture? The whole point of proving the big picture was to help us with our main proof here.
Like
Go for it.
corresponding parts.
Different corresponding parts, right? So what helps us in this case here?
The angles.
What angles are you talking about?
Like angle 3 and 4. Because I don't really know.
No, it's okay. Looking at these two triangles, we said they're congruent, right? Okay. We want to now compare these two. Are there any corresponding parts we can assume are the same that are a part of the big triangles here? Did you say FM?
Yeah.
Yes, we already have that one. What about these two? Can I assume those two sides?
Sure.
Just like up here, remember where we assumed AE and CE because of corresponding parts? Okay, do you agree that GM and KM are corresponding parts of the two bigger triangles? Okay, so we can say KM is congruent to GM because of corresponding parts. So I can mark that now. There's one more thing we need to say about those two triangles there. Is there anything that our two triangles here share?
The side.
That side, which side?
HM.
Yeah, the middle side, right? So we know HM has to be congruent to HM because of a shared side. So if I mark that there, do we now have enough information to prove our two triangles are congruent to each other? Yes, so I can say a triangle KHM is congruent to triangle GHM because why?
Side angle side.
Side, angle, side. Yep. Okay, again, biggest thing with these is working on this step here, seeing what corresponding parts we can assume from that step from before. Okay, after that big picture. Okay.